Well, the latest U.S. jobs report is raising fresh questions about where the economy is headed. The unemployment rate is now at its highest level in 4 years. Job growth has slowed and wages aren't rising much faster than inflation. At the same time, though, New Jersey's economy is holding up better than some economists expected, though affordability remains a top concern for families all across the state. To help us make sense of the numbers and what they mean for folks living here, I'm joined by Will Irving, a researcher and professor of practice at the Rutgers Blaustein School. Will, good to see you. Thanks for coming back onto the show. What stands out to you, first of all, about the jobs report? Is this a clear indicator of a slowdown?
I would say that it is, certainly. If not screeching to a halt, at least heading into fairly tepid waters. I think one thing that jumps out in terms of the top line number is that you see in October there was a significant jobs decline, but it's important to sort of point out that most of that was deferred retirements from the federal sort of DOGE layoffs. Even with that, the private sector gains that month and in November, on average, are quite weak and indicate that we are sort of on a slowing trajectory nationally, and that is likely to affect New Jersey as well.
Yeah, the unemployment rate climbing to 4.6%. Nationally, New Jersey's is higher, 5.2%. But modest gains, as you said, in November. All of it comes with a big asterisk because some of this data was delayed due to the government shutdown, and there were revisions. How accurate is it then of a picture of our economic health? Is the situation worse than what the numbers are showing?
That's difficult to say. From a state perspective, you might be aware that the September numbers for New Jersey actually came out, I believe, about a week ago, and they actually showed a bit of a rebound, a little bit of a gain, and pushed us into, I believe, positive territory for the year. That was a bit of a surprise, but again, we are lagging the national data by about 2 months. Whether the delay in the data necessarily changes the story that the data is telling, it's difficult to say, but I think all of it certainly points toward a slowdown in the job market as we head toward the new year that's likely to persist. Certainly through the first part of the year.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that labor data that you mentioned on the state showed job growth in areas like healthcare, like construction, but also job shedding in places like transportation, hospitality. How do you see New Jersey's economy lining up with the national picture? There were some comments made this week by the Fed to a reporter over at NorthJersey.com where they said, New Jersey is actually better positioned than most states to fare what's coming.
I don't know that I would necessarily be as positive that New Jersey is well positioned. Like many states, like the nation as a whole, indeed, New Jersey has seen much of its job market propped up by gains in the healthcare sector, which has been extremely resilient. And is commensurate with sort of an aging population in sort of the broader strokes. In other sectors, you mentioned construction. Construction, I'm not sure if it rebounded in September, but it's still down significantly over the course of this year. We've seen modest gains in some other sectors, but again, a bit of a rebound in the third quarter. But things like wholesale and retail trade, which will be interesting to see what the fourth quarter looks like, had been weak through most of the year. I think there was a bit of a bump in retail, but moving through this holiday season, when we expect to see seasonal hiring jumps driven by consumer activity, it'll be interesting to see because so far this year, we have seen significant weakening in those sectors.
What are you going to be watching for then over the next several months, maybe even beyond that? Indicators that tell you the economy is stabilizing, or what might you be looking for specifically?
Well, certainly the jobs numbers that come out for at the state level and the unemployment rate over the next couple of months. As you know, as you mentioned, New Jersey's unemployment rate is now at about 5.2%, so significantly higher than the nation. The last time we had sort of a rapid rise in New Jersey's unemployment rate that sort of led the nation, that was from, I think, about sort of the late summer 2023. Over the course of the next 6 to 7 months, the unemployment rate jumped significantly and rose quite a bit faster than the nation. But other states eventually started, if not to catch up, at least to increase at a somewhat similar rate. We would expect now maybe to see the same thing. You know, New Jersey has jumped out ahead of the rest of the nation, but there seems to be some indication, or we'll be looking for indication as to whether other states start to follow suit, I should say.
Will Irving, always great to have your expertise, your insight on the program. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.